Welcome to another edition of Throwback Thursday. This week, we're going to talk about our first year of dating so many years ago. Enjoy! Hey everybody!
Hi everyone!
So this is our second episode of Throwback Thursday about how we met, and ultimately it's going to lead to our marriage and the journey that we took with fertility and infertility. But we really want to lay the groundwork before we got there. So this week is going to be our first year of dating.
Yep.
So this was 13 years ago when we started to date.
Mm-hmm.
I had just turned 18.
And I was about to be 16.
So we were young, and again, Kia was in high school. I had just graduated, and I lived about an hour away, so I would come up on the weekends. If at all, it would have been just at the very first, maybe a Saturday, and then I would head home. But very quickly, her parents would let me spend the night in their basement. So I would get off work on a Friday, come up, spend the night on a Friday, Saturday, and then go home Sunday. And then every other weekend, I would just come up on a Saturday and then leave on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So it was a long weekend. We went from not seeing each other all week, and just talking either on the computer or over the phone, and then bam, we were together for 24, 48 hours. And so it really taught us a lot.
Yeah, that was our toughest year. I think a lot of people say like the first year of marriage is the hardest, and honestly, our first year dating was the hardest, and I think it was a lot to do with a long distance. We had to learn how to communicate, and then also being with each other constantly on the weekends. We like saw the worst of each other on the weekends, just like you do when you marry someone and you start to live with them. That's kind of what it was. And so we saw the good things at first, but I would say about 3 months into it is when we really started to butt heads a lot.
Yeah, and I remember one instance. It was about 4 months into our dating, and we were at a local park, and just our sense of humor, she had her sense of humor with her friends, and just those two merging together, because I was kind of entering into her world, and so just took a lot of understanding, and frankly, we had a lot of fights. I would say almost every weekend we fought about something. And it's not funny, but a lot of people who knew us said we weren't going to make it. And in fact, people encouraged her to not date me anymore. I remember just having conversations with people saying, you guys should just break up. And we kind of knew that wasn't
an option.
That wasn't really what we were into. So that was kind of the basis of our first year.
Yeah.
One of the things I learned about Kia during that first year was that she responded to intense situations. When we would fight, she would be introverted. So she kept all of that emotion and everything she wanted to say inside, and that would set me even more off. And I would just tell me what you want to say. Just yell at me. Give me something. And she would stonewall me. And so that just made things very, very difficult for us. And it was a huge learning curve for us.
Yeah, and Jeremy, on the other hand, he would explode. And so naturally that made me not respond even more. And so he would explode, I would clam up, and we would come at a standstill because I wouldn't talk to him when he was like that. And that would drive him insane, and so we had to learn how to communicate, and that was a difficult thing. It's funny though now, because Lola is a lot like me, and we've already seen where when she is getting in trouble or being disciplined, she clams up and she stone faces, and you cannot tell any emotion because she is just. And then once she's away from the situation, then she'll cry or something like that. But it's funny to see.
And Judah is a lot like me, where he gets frustrated quickly, and he just he lets his emotions out. And what I learned, just to jump off topic just a second, that passion can be really, really good. And that that reserve can be really, really good. It's just the context in which you put it. When you let your anger get the best of you, it's awful. But when I preach or I teach, that emotion, that passion still drives that. So it just depends in what context you use it. And so it's cool to see how we've grown over the last 13 years in that way. But now having kids, it's very interesting to watch them with the same thing, the qualities that we have, and then try to teach them not at 16, 17, 25, 30 years old, but at 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year. So that's been neat as parents to see that.
Yeah. And so during our first year, that's also when I guess cell phones were becoming very popular, and Jeremy had his own cell phone plan and just ended up putting me on his plan too. And so we were able to text each other for free, because that was before that you had like free texting and things like that.
I think we had unlimited texting.
To each other, to
right.
whoever was on your plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then phone calls and things like that too. So it just ended up being a good idea for us to, I mean, probably wasn't a good idea to put someone in your first year,
right.
especially when we were arguing so much. But, you know, we were 16 and 18. What are you going to do?
We thought we knew everything. And we knew everything.
We knew everything. So a lot of how we would talk, because we couldn't figure out how to talk to each other, because I couldn't express what I was thinking without crying, because I only cry when I really get angry, and so I would get angry and I would cry, and so we didn't know how to like talk to each other, and so we ended up texting each other. We would sit right beside each other and we would text it all out, because that's how we were used to communicating. Most of our communication was online, and so we knew how to talk to each other online, but we were using that time to also learn how to talk to each other in person. So we would figure out the bulk of it in texting, and then we would talk about it a little bit and then move on from our day. I mean, obviously we were 16, 18 years old. These weren't major things that we were fighting about.
Right.
It was just learning how to get along with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it was, I know for me, what I had learned, and a lot was from just the culture, was that I wanted to impress Kia. And the way that I impressed her was through my physical abilities at soccer, at basketball, or my intellect. And so I wanted to impress her, and I wanted to show her, I wanted her to be proud of me, and I wanted her to look at me with these almost, I don't know, with
googly eyes.
Yeah, googly eyes, and like, oh, my boyfriend is so this and that, you know, and now I'm not so this and that, but I wanted her to think that. And so I would play basketball with friends, and I would like look over, like the one shot I made out of 50, I would look over and be like, yeah! And she's just talking to her friend, and I just felt so discouraged by that. Or I would help her with a math problem, and I would be like, you know, look how awesome I was, and she just kind of whatever. And so that was a very difficult time in our first year of dating, because I did not feel like she was impressed with me. And she was not proud of who I was or who I was trying to be.
Yeah, and for me, a lot of it was, I was pretty strong in my faith, even at 16, and I had very high standards of what I was looking for, and I wasn't just dating to date, and I was dating to marry someone in my future. And if you caught last week's Throwback, I knew Jeremy was the one, and so it was just this matter in my mind of getting him to be husband material. And looking back, there's obviously, I could not have changed him and made him into who I wanted him to be. That would never have worked. But a lot of it was, I wanted him to lead me spiritually, and I wanted him to step up to the plate like that. And I felt like there was a lot of times where he didn't. And that was, for me, what a major cause of my frustration was in our first year, was I needed him to be a spiritual leader, and he just wasn't there yet, and I was trying to force it to be there.
She wanted a leader, and I wanted her to be impressed with my mad skills. So we were definitely missing each other. And I think that's where a lot of our frustration, a lot of our fighting came from. And I remember that there was a specific incident that happened where we were actually playing basketball, which is, I'm not a basketball player. I'm not. A lot of her friends play basketball, but I am not a skilled basketball player. And so I remember we were playing basketball, and something relatively large had happened in your life at that time. And so we were kind of high on emotions, and we had another fight, and she sat down with me, and you probably explain it better than I can.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
This was your moment.
Okay, this was a big revelation for me in my life, and I think in our relationship, where she basically did a triangle for me, and she said at the top of that triangle is God, and at the corners are you and me. And what I was doing was I was running as fast and as hard as I possibly can, figuratively, towards Kia, and I was trying to do everything I could to get close to her. Meanwhile, she's running to God at the top. And so what was happening was we were missing each other. And basically, what she explained to me was that she was looking for a man. As much as she loved me, she was looking for someone to be her husband. And one of the standards, one of the highest qualities that she could find in a husband was someone who was pursuing God. And so she explained to me that as we both pursue God, what inevitably happens is that we reach togetherness in God. And that flipped everything over for me. That just was like, okay, I'm back at square one, but now I'm heading in the right direction. And I say that was such a pivot point for our relationship, because once I knew the direction I was going in, I put all that effort towards it. And I remember making a decision right around that time also, saying, because she kind of, I wouldn't say an ultimatum, she just said, look, these are my standards, and this is, as much as I love you, if you can't be this person or meet these standards of who I'm looking for to marry, then maybe we do need to take a break from our relationship. And she meant a lot to me, and I loved her very much, as I understood love at that age. And so I started pursuing God, and that really was a changing point for us.
Yeah, after that, pretty much, that's when we really stopped arguing. I mean, obviously we never stopped arguing, you know,
Right.
but that was, we have not really argued as much as we did then. And so I really do think it was like our first year of marriage, because we'll get to it eventually, but our first year of marriage was great. We really enjoyed our first year of marriage.
Yeah, lots of fun.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have some clips of some of the things we did in our first year of marriage.
I did attempt a front flip.
Yes. And
slid down the stairs.
And the popcorn song.
And the popcorn song. Some of you who might be watching know the popcorn song.
If you know the popcorn song,
leave
a comment.
Leave a little comment for us. So anyways, it was really just getting about our priorities straight.
Yeah.
And
on the same page.
And on the same page.
And learning to communicate in person and not online anymore, because that is how we communicated for 4 years.
Yeah. And even though I knew that the more, going back, just how we handled tough situations, even knowing that she needed me to be calm, that has taken me 13 years to work on. And honestly, I'm still working on it, where I just want to let everyone know on the outside how I feel on the inside. And what has been taking a process is that that's not healthy, at least not in this context. And so I'm still working on just being able to stay calm under high pressure situations, and I've gotten better. And Kia has gotten better at communicating to me when she's upset, or if I do something that bothers her, and, you know, things like that.
Yep.
So that was kind of our first year.
Our first year was a little sad, a little tough.
Yeah. It was growing pains, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And we look back at that going, that was a very hard year, but also a very beneficial year for our marriage. And that year definitely helped us get through some of our toughest times, whether it be just in marriage, jobs, and infertility.
Yeah.
To learn how to deal with that.
Yeah. But year 2, things got a little better. Some exciting things happened in year 2.
Yes.
And we will talk about those next week.
Yes, we will.
So, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you like our Throwback Thursdays and Bishop's. Here we go again.
Oh gosh. Hold on, let me. She can't handle this. It's too much. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this.
Yes.
And click that little bell for notifications. You want to try to finish it?
Yeah.
All right.
Did you say subscribe?
Yes.
Okay. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
See ya.